All right, Evan Giddings in for Daryl the Guru Johnson today. Hopefully, Goo will be back tomorrow. He's taking care of some family business. And he'll be back. He'll be back.
Thinking about you, buddy.
Yeah, did you, what'd you have on your mind before the last break?
Oh, so we're talking about decision-making and how much influence, say, Steve Kerr would have in a draft. And that might be one of the things that they're mulling over when deciding whether or not they want to bring him back. I think there's a lot of things at play here. I think length of contract, maybe annual value. I think Kerr's willingness to maybe adapt, something that Curry was talking about at the end of the season after the Suns game. I think his loyalty to Curry and Draymond superseding perhaps his loyalty to the rest of the roster could be an issue for the Warriors. I think there's a lot of things going on. But if Kerr indeed wants a seat at the table in that draft room, should the Warriors get a top 4 pick, which player do you think he would rather have? AJ Dybantsa or Cam Boozer? That's the question that I posed to you during the break because I feel like I know which one he'd want.
It feels like he'd want Boozer. And if you don't know a lot about these players, Boozer's considered more of a finished product than Dybantsa.
Especially, I think a better example would be Darren Peterson or Cam Boozer. Because Peterson's more of a wild card.
I know who I would take.
I would take
Boozer's
Peterson.
My 4th pick.
I would take Peterson in a heartbeat.
No, I would too. But could you make a comparison that Dybantsa to Boozer is similar to Kuminga to Wagner? In other words, Kuminga, kind of a project. Dybantsa, less of a project, at least he's considered, but still has some rawness to him. And Wagner was supposed to be a finished product, and Boozer, most people think, is close to a finished product. So, yes, I would lean that Kerr would probably want Boozer.
I think so, too.
But you can't.
And I think that'd be the wrong pick. You know what I mean?
I mean, the other question is, what does Dunleavy think about Boozer? And I know it's easy to say, oh, he went to Duke, he's going to take Boozer. It's never that simple.
No, if anything, he might know him better than, a lot of other general managers.
Right.
I don't know. But the reason why I posed the question is because I do think there will be, if the Warriors make hay in the lottery, and we're going to find out on May 10th, but if they make hay, I think that there will be another decision. Just like there will be a decision for a lot of teams. Do you want the finished product or more of a finished product, or do you want a player with a higher upside? Because in the past, the Warriors clearly chose the players that were projects and had higher upsides, being Wiseman, Kuminga, and to some extent Moody, because he was a one-and-done in college. Whereas from the moment that Dunleavy has taken over as general manager, their draft strategy, and they haven't had a lottery pick, but it's been clear to me that their draft strategy has been to find players that can play now and that Steve Kerr can use, as opposed to guys that are darts thrown at a dartboard.
Yeah, I'm also trying to make sense of the Warriors want him for 2 years and maybe Kerr once a year. And here's what I'm starting to think about that. I don't believe that the Golden State Warriors, let me ask you this. Do you believe that the Golden State Warriors will be the last NBA team that Steve Kerr coaches? Or only team he coaches?
I actually do.
Okay.
I do.
I don't. And I'm wondering if you're Steve Kerr and they're trying to give you, they want you to take a 2-year deal. I could see how he would look at it and say, I don't know that I want to lock myself in here for 2 because then I'm going to miss that next year's openings when they come open. And you look at this year. San Antonio's probably not going to open this year. All right?
No, but it's looking like they're going to make the Western Conference Finals, I think.
So if Kerr takes 2 years with the Warriors, he rules out any chance of getting the Spurs job at the end of next year, which, they go to the Western Conference Finals this year, and then they lose in the second round next year. They'll probably fire the coach because that's kind of what happens. And maybe he knows that 1 year gives him way more options than 2 years. And because he may want to coach again, not coming back is also an option because then he's just a free agent.
Maybe this is where we're different. I take Steve Kerr's word that he will not coach next season if he's not the coach of the Warriors. What I would also say and take a step further is that I think that Steve Kerr is so loyal, and you could call me an idiot. I think that Steve Kerr is so loyal to Steph Curry and to some extent Draymond Green that while those two players, but mainly Steph, is still playing in the NBA, Steve Kerr will not coach. He will not coach against those guys. I don't think.
Wow. I think he would.
I think once Steph retires or Draymond retires, I think it's back on the table. But I don't think it's a given that he just takes a sabbatical for a year and then goes back into coaching. I think he's going to take some time. And that's why I think after those years, it's a possibility that he doesn't coach again or that maybe he doesn't get a job. I don't know.
888-957-9570 is the number. How do you want Steve Kerr to handle? How do you want Joe Lacob to handle this situation? Do you think Steve Kerr will coach another team after the Golden State Warriors? I feel like if Steve Kerr doesn't come back, all right, he'll be able to say to Steph and Draymond, look, it obviously had nothing to do with you guys. But it just didn't work out. And, they want some things out of me that I wasn't willing to give. And I want some things out of them that they weren't willing to give. So, I'm just not going to be back next year. I think he would take a job a year from now, even if they're still in the league.
Like next season?
At the end of next season. He's not coaching the Warriors next year, takes next year off, and then takes over another team. I think he'd be willing to do that.
What's the difference between doing it next season and the year after then?
Well, I think it's unrealistic to think that Steve Kerr has to put his career on hold if Steph Curry decides or is able to play 4 more years here. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, I'm not saying he's, well, I think that there's a genuine loyalty that he has to Steph. And I think it could extend that far, that he owes him as much as he does to the point where he would not want to compete out of respect.
Maybe.
But San Antonio is obviously a location. There's gonna be some openings this year. But I also think that in the same way that Kerr was very particular about the first job that he ever got as a head coach, which is the one he still has, at least until further notice, I also think he would be wouldn't he be more picky about the next job that he takes as a head coach?
Yeah. But
I don't think he would take a job that involved a rebuild or...
No. But let's just hypothetically say the Adelman gets fired in Detroit. And Kerr's
not... You mean Denver?
I'm sorry, Denver. Adelman gets fired in Denver this year. Well, it doesn't... I don't know. If things don't work out here... Why wouldn't he just take that job? Because to me, if it doesn't work out here, it's because it didn't work out between Kerr, Dunleavy, Lacob. And I wouldn't put if a job came open that I wanted and I'm Steve Kerr, I'm sorry, I'm not taking it because I told Steph I'd be loyal to him, which I am, but I just wasn't loyal to the organization.
Yeah, but I also think it takes 2 to tango. And if there are teams that are looking at Steve Kerr's coaching the last couple of seasons, why would they just, why should he just get his pick of the litter? You know what I mean?
Well,
he is historically a great head coach.
Right.
But currently, is he one of the top 10 coaches in basketball?
Well, let's put it this way. I believe that if Steve Kerr announces on Friday, I'm not coming back to coach the Golden State Warriors, then Denver fires Adelman. They're going to reach out to, I think they'd probably reach out to Kerr. I mean, I don't know. Maybe,
I would.
Yeah, I would too. If Cleveland gets knocked out, maybe Cleveland, one of the better teams that gets eliminated in this playoff, if Kerr's not the coach, they may contact Steve Kerr. Now, I don't know if he would take it or not.
I mean, I think I would love to see what he could do with Denver.
Sure.
So you're looking at Steve Kerr, should he not coach the Warriors next year, like he's John Harbaugh. Where John Harbaugh was with an organization for a long time, won a Super Bowl, regular season, great head coach. He goes and immediately has a job waiting for him.
I think he could do that if he wants, but he'll make it clear if he's not the coach of the Warriors, he's going to say, I'm not coaching next year. I think that's that I'm willing to believe him on. Like, he's not going to take the Denver job 3 weeks from today. That I kind of don't see. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey sports station, always live on the free Odyssey app and now broadcasting from the Laughing Monk studios.
Well, if he is going to be the most highly sought-after head coach, free agent on the market, why wouldn't you bring him back? Because that means he's the best coach out there.
Well, because we know that it has more to do with just his reputation and his resume. It's got to do with timing. It's got to do with where they are, where he wants to go, where they want to go. What do you think is going to happen? What do Warrior fans think is going to happen? And then what do you want to happen if it's not the same thing? How about this? Are there any coaches coaching now in the playoffs that Joe Lacob should reach out to if they get fired?
Yeah. I think I would say three right now. So here's guys that I would rule out.
All right.
Like Jamal Mosley with Orlando.
Okay. These are guys who could
get fired.
Right.
I think Mosley's been on the hot seat for the majority of this season.
I know.
It feels like every single year. Mosley, I wouldn't want. Tiago Splitter, I wouldn't want. And then, these are two other guys that apparently are in waiting to potentially see if Mosley gets fired in Orlando. They're not in the playoffs, but Billy Donovan and then Darvin Ham are two guys that are names that have surfaced in coaching circles. I would not like either of those guys. But I would be open to Kenny Atkinson coming back. I would be open to, if you decided you wanted to go young, and if you decided that you're turning the page and you want to bring in a whole horde of young guys, I think Ime Udoka would be a guy I would consider. And then lastly, the dude that I feel like could kind of be the middle ground, if he gets fired, would be Nick Nurse.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Mike Brown.
No, Mike Brown, I mean, he's got a relationship, and I think Mike Brown's a better head coach than maybe people give him credit for. But I think I would rather try my hand with Nurse than Mike Brown.
About Finch?
You think he's getting fired? I assumed he wasn't. He's made the Western Conference Finals. You continue to beat us over the head with that fact the last two seasons.
Right, but there's always that, Western Conference Finals, you stub your toe in the first round. The following year, then there's just an assumption that it's over.
But
how cool would that be?
What?
For me.
You'd retire.
I probably would.
You would have.
I'd go to work for the Wolves.
Oh, I thought you said you'd go to work for the Warriors if Finch brought you onto the staff as a developmental coach.
No, I'm trying to think what he'd bring me on. He'd bring me on as
he'd teach Paz how to use his right hand.
Minnesota!
Seriously though, so you think he's getting fired?
No. Well, I don't think he will, but
two of his most impactful players got hurt in the series that they were going to upset.
A-Rod is very mercurial. Trust me, I've met him. Very mercurial, right, Risotto? Very mercurial.
He's a weirdo.
A-Rod. Finchie's not cooked.
The Wolves, hey, look, and this is a fact. It's seriously, if the Wolves win tonight, or if they somehow advance in this series, you cannot fire him.
I don't think you can either.
But Ayo Dosunmu is your best player.
I don't think you can either. But anybody out there, somebody's saying you can have Nick Nurse. It's funny. No team likes their own coach anymore.
No, and Nurse is, I don't think he's a great, but he's a champion.
Yeah, he is. 888-957-9570 is the number. Where are all my armchair GMs? How are we fixing the Warriors this offseason? What are we doing with Steve Kerr first? If you're Joe Lacob, are you just leaving it up to Steve? Hey, Steve, let us know if you want to come back. We got a 2-year deal waiting for you for $38 million, $40 million. You know, if you want it, it's all yours. If not, just let us know, and we'll move in a different direction.
Any chance Kerr takes a pay cut?
No.
Don't do that.
Sorry, I just had to ask.
No, that's one where no. It's funny.
If you really want to be here, then we can. Yeah, you had a 37-win season, Steve. It's
okay. If those three guys want to be here,
this is a business.
They're all taking pay cuts. Kerr, Curry, and Draymond all taking pay cuts.
If you say, hey, Steve, we're going to keep you at the same number, you're going to ask Curry and Draymond to take pay cuts? It's going to be a package deal. It's got to be.
I try to get them all to take discounts.
Yeah, good luck with that. I think it's funny, too, because, Kerr's obviously a big proponent of shortening the season, right? He won 72 games. But we'd never do that because money's involved, and I get it. It's like we're all kind of the same way. What's the Liam Neeson drop? No. That's gone too far.
It's gone too far.
Yeah. Kerr's not taking no pay cut.
Here's the other thing, and we're throwing around some names, but and I do think there's something to this. If Kerr's not going to come back, and the Warriors still have Curry essentially and Draymond on the team, all right, we'll talk about a guy like Chris Finch. I don't think he can bring Chris Finch in to coach Curry and Draymond's last year or two, and you're also going to move forward with him. I mean, I guess it could, but that seems to me like a little bit of a round peg in a square hole. Now, the coaches to me that would soften that a little would be Kenny Atkinson and maybe Mike Brown, two guys who have been here. But I'm not crazy about either of those two coaches for the Warriors right now either, because I don't want to hire them just because they can buffer the veterans with the coach with a new, just because the veterans can buffer the new coach with the new team. So I don't necessarily see that either going that way. Do you want to hire an Andre Iguodala? Jerry Stackhouse, he's out there. Terry Stotts. Do you hire two guys? Do you elevate maybe two guys who are already in the organization, who know what's going on and know how to execute what Mike Dunleavy might want on the floor?
If my choice is between Jerry Stackhouse, Andre Iguodala, and Steve Kerr, I'm staying with Steve Kerr.
Who was the second one? Iguodala?
Stackhouse.
Or
Stotts, or, whoever. Maybe Mike Brown's a little different because he's actually got head coaching experience. I know Stotts does. Stackhouse, I don't believe, does at the NBA level. But if you're choosing between two completely new options and Kerr, I think I would just rather keep the status quo.
I mean, the one name I'm hearing a lot of is Sam Cassell, never been a head coach. But neither was Mark Jackson and neither was Steve Kerr. So Sam Cassell's a guy who, former player, obviously, understands the dynamics with, veteran players on young teams. Maybe Cassell could bridge that gap. But I really don't want a Mike Brown. I don't want a Luke Walton, and I don't want a Kenny Atkinson.
Why Atkinson?
I actually don't think he's a great coach. You know what? He's a really good guy. He's a little strange.
Little strange? That's why you don't like him?
He's just a little, I don't know. It's hard to explain. He's just like a little too animated for me.
I kind of like him.
Listen, we had him on. Guru and I had him on, and he was incredible.
Well, he buttered you guys up.
But the same way he was incredible, I was like, he can't. There's no way this guy can be a good coach. He's a little goofy.
His team had the number one offense in basketball last year.
Did they? And they won it, right?
The Cavs?
Yeah.
Well, they all got hurt.
Oh.
Yeah, they kind of broke down. This year, though.
Well, bring him back here.
This year, you got to get out of that first round, Kenny.
No, I didn't. 415.
What?
I did not forget the station ID. I did that at 58, actually.
Yeah, you went early.
I did. I went a little bit early, and that's the way I went.
And you haven't done it twice. You'll be all right.
I mean, the other thing is we don't know who, like Joe Lacob may love a coach out there that we don't know about.
Yeah, Todd Golden.
Well,
you can't go from Steve Kerr to Todd Golden.
Why not?
Because you can't.
Why not?
You know why? Because you
can't. Why not?
How is Todd Golden going to go over with Steph Curry and Draymond Green?
Well, this is where
Todd Golden.
This is where Steph is different. I'm serious. I think they could bring in anybody. They could bring in Matt Steinmetz to coach the Golden State Warriors next season. They won't. They won't. But Steph, if he is sold by the front office on their vision, he can make it work. He's just different, man. Okay. I don't know about Draymond, but
okay, you're not going to. Okay, when Steve Kerr took over from Mark Jackson,
yes, he was unproven.
He was unproven, but he was a champion already.
So is Golden. He's got a ring, does he not? All right, I'll let you finish.
Okay. Todd Golden. Hey, Steph, we know you only got a couple years left, but we got a guy over here who's never coached at the NBA level, only coached major Division I program for 3 years. And Kirk and Kurt love him. Oh, they developed great relationships with him at St. Mary's. I think you're going to love Todd Golden. No chance.
Well, how similar it is to the conversation of, hey, Steph, I know you guys have made 2 straight playoffs. You've actually won a series as an underdog, and you've done something with this head coach, Mark Jackson, that has not been done in over 30 years with this franchise. We're going to bring in a broadcaster.
Wasn't he also a general manager?
He has never been on the sidelines.
I know, but I'm just, he's got a lot of NBA experience.
I would argue that Todd Golden has more head coaching experience than Steve Kerr did when he was hired.
I would say that it's, yes, as a head coach of a different sport.
It's not a different sport. They still dribble basketballs. They use a different basketball, especially come madness time. But, all right, I don't necessarily see it either. But I don't think that kind of hire is off the table. I don't think any hire is off the table outside of Jerry Stackhouse and Terry Stotts.
You think they're off the table?
I don't think that they would just elevate those guys. I don't.
I would. Or it's not what I definitely would do, but...
And why would those guys take a job for a year knowing that they're lame ducks?
They'd get 2 years. They would get a 2-year deal.
Well, in that case, I'm just keeping Kerr.
I'm just talking this way if Kerr walks.
Oh.
It's a way to soft pedal Kerr out the door and the end of the Curry-Draymond era. All right, 888-957-9570. I see calls, so I'll get to calls on the other side. What do you think Steve Kerr's going to do? And the boss put it to us this morning where He said, hey, I mean, who'd you rather have? Iguodala as a coach, Mike Brown as a coach, or Steve Kerr as a coach? And when he put it that way, I thought, oof, maybe Steve Kerr is the guy to come back for a year or two. What do you guys think at 888-957-9570? Also, coming up at 1 o'clock, we got Brian Geltzeiler, Sirius XM NBA Radio. We're going to talk to him about all this stuff. He's one of our favorites, and you know how good he is. What's coming up on the game is brought to you by Fremont Bank. Here for you, here for good.